Picture this. It is the middle of January, the ground is freezing cold, and there I am, walking down the street dragging a massive pile of broken down delivery boxes. My neighbours probably think I have lost my mind. They look out their windows and wonder why on earth someone would collect so much trash during the coldest months of the year. But what they do not know is that I am actually gathering garden gold. Today, I'm going to share a secret with you that completely changed the way I grow food. I am going to show you exactly why I hoard cardboard all winter long, and I will reveal 6 incredible tricks that will absolutely explode your harvest this coming season. We are talking about less watering, zero weeding, and soil so rich it looks like chocolate cake. Some people still believe that using cardboard in the garden is dangerous or toxic, but we are going to bust that myth wide open today. So, I have a question for you before we start. Do you currently throw your delivery boxes into the recycling bin, or do you save them? Let me know in the comments below, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a cardboard box the same way again. Before we get into the 6 specific tricks, we need to understand what cardboard actually is and why it belongs in your soil. When you look at a brown corrugated box, you might see industrial packaging. But if you look at it from a biological perspective, you're simply looking at a tree. Cardboard is made from wood pulp, which is pure, unadulterated carbon. In the world of organic gardening and permaculture, carbon is the foundation of healthy, living soil. Decades ago, pioneer organic gardeners discovered that layering organic matter over the soil mimics the natural forest floor. In a forest, nobody tills the earth or pulls weeds. Leaves and fallen branches simply pile up, decompose, and create rich humus. By bringing cardboard into our garden spaces, we are replicating this ancient, natural process on a hyper-accelerated timeline. The practice of using cardboard as a base layer became famous through a technique called sheet mulching. It was a revolutionary way to turn useless grass into a thriving vegetable patch without ever lifting a shovel now. With modern delivery services bringing boxes to our doorsteps every single week, we have an unlimited free supply of this incredible resource just waiting to be utilised. So let us dive into the very first trick, which is perhaps the most life-changing of them all. We are talking about the ultimate weed barrier. Have you ever spent your entire weekend on your hands and knees, pulling out stubborn weeds under the hot sun, only to see them magically return just 5 days later? It is completely exhausting, and honestly, it takes the joy right out of growing your own food. This is where your winter stash of cardboard comes to the rescue. By laying down flattened boxes directly over your grassy or weedy areas, you are instantly cutting off all sunlight. Without sunlight, those pesky weeds cannot photosynthesize, and they eventually die off entirely. It is a fundamental rule of nature. But the beauty of this method is that it requires zero digging. You do not need a tiller, and you do not need to break your back turning the soil. You are simply placing a thick, impenetrable shield over the problem area. I remember transforming a wild, overgrown patch of my backyard into a pristine vegetable bed, using just the boxes from a new television and some delivery packages. It felt like absolute magic. The grass suffocated underneath, and the soil life began to break it down, turning a nightmare area into a blank canvas for my spring planting. Now, before you go throwing any random box onto your garden beds, we need to address a very common concern and bust a major myth. People often ask me if the ink and glue on the cardboard will poison their organic vegetables. The short answer is no, but there are a few rules you must follow. First, you have to strip the boxes completely naked. This means peeling off every single piece of packing tape, shipping labels, and plastic staples. You want nothing but the raw paper material. As for the ink, the vast majority of modern brown cardboard boxes are printed using soy-based inks. These soy inks are completely safe and will actually biodegrade naturally in the soil without leaving toxic heavy metals behind. However, you must avoid boxes that have a glossy, waxy finish or those that are completely covered in bright, full-colour graphics. Think of heavy detergent boxes or flashy electronics packaging. Those glossy coatings contain microplastics and chemicals that you absolutely do not want near your tomatoes. Stick to the plain, boring, brown corrugated boxes. The prep work during winter might seem tedious, taking off all that tape, but sitting by the fire peeling labels is much easier than pulling weeds in the blazing summer heat. Let us move on to the actual application process for this weed barrier, because technique is everything. When spring arrives and the ground thaws, you will take your clean, flat boxes out to the garden. The biggest mistake beginners make is simply placing the boxes side by side, edge to edge. If you do this, aggressive weeds like bindweed or Bermuda grass will easily find the tiny cracks between the boxes and push their way right through to the sun. You have to overlap your cardboard pieces by at least 6 to 8 inches. Think of it like putting shingles on a roof. You are creating a continuous, overlapping armour that nothing can penetrate. And here is a crucial pro tip. You must soak the cardboard thoroughly with a hose immediately after laying it down. Dry cardboard is stiff, and a strong gust of spring wind will send your beautiful garden beds flying into the neighbour's yard. Wetting the cardboard makes it heavy. It forces the material to mould to the contours of the earth, creating a tight seal against the soil surface. This tight seal is what truly suffocates the weeds below, while creating the perfect humid environment for the magic to happen underneath. Once your wet, overlapping cardboard armour is down, you cannot just leave it exposed to the sun. It will eventually dry out, curl up, and look terrible. You have to top it with organic matter. This is often called the lasagna method of gardening. You want to spread at least 3 to 4 inches of high-quality compost, aged manure, or rich topsoil directly over the wet cardboard. If you are preparing a garden path instead of a planting bed, you would use thick wood chips. This top layer does 2 things. First, it holds the cardboard down permanently. Second, it instantly creates a brand new planting zone. The amazing thing is that you do not have to wait for the cardboard to break down to start planting. If you make your top layer thick enough, you can plant your seeds or seedlings right into the compost on the very same day. As your plant roots grow downward over the next few weeks, the damp cardboard below will have softened enough for the roots to push right through it into the native soil. It is an incredibly efficient system that gives you a massive jumpstart on the growing season. The second trick we are going to explore is how cardboard acts as an unbeatable moisture trap. Water management is one of the biggest challenges for any gardener, especially as our summers seem to get hotter and drier every single year. When you have bare soil exposed to the blazing sun, the moisture evaporates incredibly fast. Your plants become stressed, their growth stunts, and your harvest suffers. But when you have a continuous layer of cardboard buried just beneath the surface of your compost or mulch, it completely changes the hydrology of your garden bed. The cardboard acts as a semi-permeable membrane. It allows rain and irrigation water to slowly drip down into the deeper subsoil, but it severely slows down the rate of evaporation coming back up. It traps the moisture in the cool darkness of the earth. During a brutal July heat wave, this trapped moisture can literally mean the difference between life and death for your delicate vegetable crops. To really understand this moisture trick, we have to look closely at the physical structure of corrugated cardboard. If you look at a cross-section of a box, you will see a wavy layer of paper sandwiched between 2 flat layers. These wavy lines are called flutes. When you soak the cardboard and bury it, these little flutes act like thousands of tiny water reservoirs. They soak up moisture like a giant sponge and hold onto it tightly. As the surrounding soil begins to dry out during a hot afternoon, the damp cardboard slowly releases its stored water back into the environment. It creates a stable, humid microclimate right at the root zone of your plants. Plant roots absolutely love this stable environment. Instead of experiencing massive swings from soaking wet to bone dry, the roots enjoy a consistent level of hydration. This consistency prevents issues like blossom end rot in tomatoes, which is directly caused by uneven watering. By using the boxes you hoarded all winter, you're essentially installing a free, automated moisture regulation system in your garden. I want to give you a very clear example of how powerful this sponge effect really is. A few years ago, we had an unexpected drought early in the season. I had 2 raised beds planted with identical cucumber varieties. One bed had been prepped in the spring with a thick cardboard base layer, and the other bed was just filled with standard soil and no cardboard. I had to go out of town for 4 days, and the irrigation system completely failed. When I returned, the results were shocking. The cucumbers in the bed with no cardboard were completely wilted. Their leaves were yellowing, and several of the younger plants had died. The soil was like dusty concrete, but when I checked the bed with the cardboard layer, the cucumber plants were still standing tall and green. I dug my fingers down through the top compost, and the moment I hit that decomposing cardboard layer, the soil was still cool and noticeably damp to the touch. That single experience proved to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that collecting those boxes all winter is worth its weight in gold. Our third amazing trick is all about biology, specifically creating absolute worm heaven. If carbon is the foundation of organic gardening, then earthworms are the untiring workforce that makes everything grow. Charles Darwin once said that there are few animals which have played so important a part in the history of the world as earthworms. And it turns out, earthworms have an absolute obsession with corrugated cardboard. They do not just like it, they actively migrate towards it from all corners of your yard. The reason is twofold. First, as we mentioned earlier, the damp environment underneath the cardboard is exactly what worms need to breathe and reproduce. But secondly, and most importantly, they actually eat the cardboard. The glue used to hold those wavy flutes together is typically made from cornstarch or other natural starches. To an earthworm, this starch glue is a massive, high-energy protein shake. They devour it. When you lay down your winter stash of cardboard, you are sending out a dinner invitation to every beneficial organism in the soil. As the worms come up to eat the damp paper and the starchy glue, they do something incredible for your garden. They tunnel constantly. Thousands of worms moving up and down through the soil profile act like tiny, microscopic ploughs. They aerate the soil, creating channels for air and water to reach the deeper roots of your plants. This biological tilling is far superior to any mechanical tiller you could buy because it does not destroy the delicate soil structure, and as they eat the cardboard, they digest it and excrete it right back into the root zone. These excretions are called worm castings, and they are arguably the most nutrient-dense, perfectly balanced, organic fertilizer on the planet. By simply providing the cardboard, you are farming worms directly inside your vegetable beds, getting free fertilizer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But it is not just the earthworms that benefit from this cardboard feast. The damp paper creates the ultimate breeding ground for beneficial fungal networks. When you pull back a piece of mulch from a cardboard-treated bed after a few weeks, you will often see a white, web-like substance spreading all over the brown paper. This is mycelium. It is the vegetative part of fungi. Many gardeners panic when they see white mold growing in their soil, but this is exactly what you want. These mycorrhizal fungi form symbiotic relationships with the roots of your vegetable plants. The fungi attach to the roots and act like tiny extensions, reaching far out into the soil to mine for water and rare minerals like phosphorus. They bring these nutrients back to the plant, and in exchange, the plant gives the fungi sugars. The cardboard serves as the perfect initial food source to kickstart this massive fungal network. It is a beautiful, complex ecosystem, and it all starts with those boring brown boxes you saved in January. Trick number 4 takes us out of the planting beds and into the spaces in between. We are talking about using cardboard as the ultimate free path maker. One of the most frustrating things about spring gardening is dealing with the mud. You want to get out there and harvest your early greens, but walking between your rows means sinking up to your ankles in sloppy, sticky clay. And by midsummer, those same muddy paths have usually transformed into a dense jungle of aggressive weeds that you have to constantly whack down. Your winter cardboard stash offers a permanent, elegant solution to both of these problems. By laying thick boxes down in your walking paths, you create an instant, dry, stable surface to walk on. It completely suppresses the path weeds, keeps your boots clean, and gives your garden a highly organised, professional appearance. It is a simple trick, but the impact on your daily gardening experience is absolutely massive. When it comes to making pathways, not all cardboard is created equal. For your vegetable beds, standard thin delivery boxes are fine because they break down quickly and feed the soil. But for areas where you will be walking heavily, pushing wheelbarrows, and stepping repeatedly, you need the heavy-duty stuff. This is why I actively hunt for appliance boxes during the winter. A box that held a refrigerator, a washing machine, or a large television is made of double or even triple-walled corrugated cardboard. It is incredibly thick and resilient. When you lay these massive sheets down in your pathways, they can withstand serious foot traffic for months without tearing or breaking apart. I usually try to snag these from local appliance stores or check community boards right after the winter holidays when everyone is throwing away big boxes. You just overlap these heavy-duty sheets in the walkways, making sure they run tightly up against the wooden edges of your raised beds so no weeds can sneak through the gaps. Of course, walking on bare brown cardboard is not very aesthetically pleasing, and it can actually get surprisingly slippery when it rains. So, the final step in creating the perfect garden path is the top dressing. Once your heavy-duty boxes are laid down, you cover them with a 2 to 3 inch layer of wood chips, bark mulch, or even gravel. The wood chips lock the cardboard in place, provide excellent traction for your boots, and look incredibly beautiful. Over the course of 12 to 18 months, the bottom layer of cardboard will slowly decompose into the native soil, feeding the earthworms below the paths. Eventually, the wood chips will start to break down as well. When the weeds finally start trying to poke through a year or two later, you simply lay down a fresh layer of your newly hoarded winter cardboard right on top of the old path. Add fresh wood chips, and the cycle continues. You are slowly building rich topsoil even in the places where you walk. Let us explore the fifth trick, which is essential for anyone who struggles with making good compost. I call this trick the instant compost carbon fix. To make healthy, fast, and odour-free compost, you need a specific balance of materials. We call these greens and browns. Greens are your nitrogen-rich materials, like grass clippings, coffee grounds, and kitchen vegetable scraps. Browns are your carbon-rich materials, like dried leaves, straw, and you guessed it, cardboard. A very common problem for home gardeners is that during the spring and summer, we generate a massive amount of green material. We are constantly throwing wet kitchen scraps and fresh pulled weeds into the compost pile. Without enough brown carbon to balance it out, that pile quickly turns into a slimy, anaerobic, putrid-smelling mess. It stops decomposing and starts rotting. This is why hoarding cardboard all winter is a lifesaver. You are stockpiling pure carbon to balance out the coming avalanche of summer greens. You cannot simply throw whole flat boxes into a compost bin. They will mat together, block airflow, and take forever to break down. You have to shred it. Now, shredding thick cardboard by hand can be brutal on your fingers. Here is my favourite technique to make it incredibly easy. I take a large plastic trash can, fill it with water, and dunk the broken down boxes inside for about 20 minutes. Once the cardboard is thoroughly soaked, it loses all its structural integrity. You can easily tear it into tiny pieces with your bare hands with almost zero effort. It rips apart like wet tissue paper. I keep a dedicated bin of this shredded, damp cardboard right next to my compost pile. Every time I dump a bucket of fresh, wet kitchen scraps into the composter, I grab 2 handfuls of the shredded cardboard and toss it right on top. This simple habit guarantees that my carbon to nitrogen ratio stays perfectly balanced all season long. Let me paint a picture of how quickly this cardboard trick can save a dying compost pile. Last summer, a friend called me in a panic. Her compost bin was swarming with fruit flies, and it smelled like harsh ammonia. Her neighbours were actually starting to complain about the odour. She had been dumping nothing but wet grass clippings and melon rinds into the bin for 3 weeks straight. The pile was suffocating. I brought over 2 large garbage bags full of my winter-hoarded shredded cardboard. We took a pitchfork, flipped her slimy compost, and thoroughly mixed the dry, shredded cardboard into the wet mess. The dry paper immediately absorbed the excess moisture. It introduced air pockets throughout the dense pile, restoring oxygen flow to the beneficial bacteria. Within exactly 3 days, the terrible ammonia smell completely vanished. The pile heated up dramatically, the fruit flies disappeared, and it began smelling like sweet, rich earth again. That is the raw power of having a dedicated stash of pure carbon on hand. Our 6th and final trick is an absolute game changer if you are planning to build or expand your garden this year. We are talking about using cardboard as raised bed filler. Raised bed gardening is incredibly popular right now, and for good reason. It saves your back, provides better drainage, and allows you to control the soil quality. But there is a massive hidden cost that shocks new gardeners. Filling a 2-foot-tall raised bed with high-quality, store-bought potting soil or compost can literally cost hundreds of dollars per bed. It is outrageously expensive. This is where your winter cardboard collection becomes a major financial asset. You absolutely do not need to fill the entire depth of a tall raised bed with premium soil. Most vegetable plant roots only need about 8 to 12 inches of good soil to thrive. Everything below that is just structural filler. So, instead of buying expensive dirt to fill the bottom half of your new beds, you are going to use trash. This technique is a modified version of a German permaculture practice called Kultur. When I build a new deep raised bed, I start by lining the native grass at the very bottom with a thick layer of flat cardboard to kill the weeds. Then, I toss in a layer of old rotting logs and thick branches. On top of that wood, I dump an absolute mountain of my hoarded cardboard. I use whole boxes, crumpled up boxes, toilet paper tubes, and any clean paper waste I saved all winter long. I pack it down tight until it fills up the bottom half, or even 2/3 of the raised bed. I soak the entire cardboard mountain with a hose until it is dripping wet. Only then do I add the expensive premium compost and topsoil to the very top, filling the remaining 8 to 12 inches. By doing this, I instantly cut my soil budget by more than half. A bed that would have cost $200 to fill now only costs me $80. When you are building 6 or 7 beds, those savings are astronomical. The benefits of this cardboard filler technique go far beyond just saving money. Remember the moisture trap and the worm heaven we talked about earlier? All of those benefits are now happening deep inside your raised bed. During the first growing season, your vegetable roots will happily grow in the top layer of rich compost. But as the summer progresses, that massive pile of damp cardboard underneath begins to slowly decompose. It turns into a giant subterranean sponge, holding water deep in the bed where the hot sun cannot evaporate it. By year 2 and year 3, the cardboard and logs will have completely broken down, transforming into incredibly rich, dark humus. As it breaks down, it releases a slow, steady stream of nutrients upward to the plant roots. The level of the soil in the bed will sink down a bit as the materials decompose, which is totally normal. You simply top it off with an inch or 2 of fresh compost each spring. You have essentially built a self-sustaining, nutrient-generating battery hidden underneath your vegetables. So how do you actually manage this hoarding process without driving your family crazy? The key is organisation. During the winter months from November through March, the garden is asleep, but the deliveries keep coming. Every time a box arrives, I immediately break it down flat. I remove the tape and labels right away while I'm inside the warm house. Then I stack the flattened boxes in a designated dry corner of the garage or the garden shed. You must keep them dry during winter storage, otherwise they will mould and turn to mush before you can use them. By the time spring rolls around, I have a massive, neat stack of clean, flat carbon ready to be deployed. It takes discipline to not just throw them in the recycling bin, but when you step back and look at the health of your soil in July, you realise it is the smartest gardening habit you could ever develop. You are taking a waste product, keeping it out of the municipal system, and using it to grow healthy, organic food for your family. When you started watching this video, you probably thought I was just a crazy guy dragging trash through the snow, but now you see the brilliant interconnected system behind it, from creating an impenetrable weed barrier and a drought-busting moisture trap to feeding thousands of earthworms and saving a fortune on raised bed soil. Cardboard is truly a miracle material for the organic gardener. It turns a frustrating battle against nature into a beautiful cooperative process. You stop fighting weeds and start building soil. That is the ultimate goal of permaculture. Thank you so much for watching and learning with me today. If these 6 tricks blew your mind and changed the way you look at delivery boxes, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and share this video with a fellow gardener who is tired of pulling weeds. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 cardboard tricks are you going to try first in your garden this spring? Drop your answers in the comments below and let us get a great discussion going.